And welcome once again back to the Four Horsemen of Fantasy podcast, NBA style, because, you don't do fantasy for Super Bowl, so it's going to be basketball. As long as there's a ball or a puck or like a bat or anything that constitutes as a sport, we'll talk about it. If it can make you money or can give you bragging rights, we will talk about it. So it's I, Karlos with a K Ortiz, joined alongside Mr. Jac Hopkins and Gil Benhamu. We are down one horseman again, so we're going back to the Three Kings version of this show because Nick Romeo decides, I'd rather work and make income, active income, as opposed to joining us guys. But whatever.
Hey Nicky, cover Winkler in bees.
So that's for Nick. But Gil, Jack, what's going on, guys?
Oh yeah, doing great. Did you guys know? Actually, this is just straight from the source. I just got cleared back to playing shape, so I can finally go back into playing after. So for those who don't know, I broke my foot back in November, and I just got word today that I'm officially medically cleared to get back into playing sports. So
congrats, mate.
I know, it's crazy. It's been the longest 2.5 months ever, and so that's fun. But other than that, life's been great. Just, keeping up with fantasy as always.
Yeah, I just got back from a ski trip, which was absolutely brilliant. It was like a 6-day excursion out to the French Alps. So I was just in heaven for 6 days. So it's definitely a little sad to come back to the icy, rainy New York at the moment.
Yeah, you can't ski on this.
Just had a big dump of snow as well last weekend, which is pretty much vanished as well. So I'm doing good. And may I just say, you can do fantasy for the Super Bowl if you want to do some DFS.
Yeah, that's true. I just when I think of fantasy football, I always think of the week to week grind and the pressure that comes with it, and all the things that we love about fantasy, like beating your friend's ass. You can't really do that in the Super Bowl. You can make some money though. Make some coin.
You can make some money though. I think that's also
people will be making a lot of money and also losing a lot of money.
I will probably be on the latter end of that, Jack. But just giving my own luck.
True. Yeah.
So for this week, we wanted to we keep it nice and simple because we got some good games this weekend coming up, and see. The fantasy season for basketball is quickly approaching its end too. It's amazing how seasons will just creep up on you. We're already in February. So we wanted to go a little bit of a different direction. We got some nice DFS lineup picks for you guys, players that we like. And on the other side of the break, we'll do a quick buy and sell for either. We'll do kind of two variations of the buy and sell for DFS, as well as just long-term season outlook for players that I will either buy for the rest of the year or sell the rest of the year. Same thing for whether I like their plays or not. So
I haven't got an opinion-based game on something, right? It's been so statistically based for the last.
Oh yeah, listen, I'm not Lieutenant Data over here. I can't keep up with the thousands of numbers in Jack's supercomputer. So you know what? Let's go ahead and just throw it over to our Lieutenant Data. Jack, who do you got for a good DFS play, whether it's tonight or this weekend?
Okay, so I'll start off with a chalk pick for me, and I'm going to go with your Bulls here, Karlos, because DeMar DeRozan has been playing absolutely lights out recently.
Yes, sir.
He's 9,600, and they're playing at Indy. Now, also bear in mind that Indy have just given up 157 points to the Charlotte Hornets just a couple of days ago. DeMar DeRozan's been putting up huge numbers, 28, 6, and 7 the last game. The game before that, 29, 10, and 5. And the game before that, 23, 4, and 10. So that's point, rebound, assist I'm talking about there. And he's just been absolutely on a tear. I don't care that Vucevic is there. Vucevic is still getting his. I think the fact that Lonzo has been out has been a real plus for DeMar because he just gets the ball way more and he's really doing a lot with it. And I just think you can't go wrong. He's going to return value for you, no problem at all. He doesn't ever score under what he's projected. So DeMar is just an absolute chalk pick for me this week. He's just someone I think should be in all your lineups.
I think they like him. I think they like.
I like the pick. I like it a lot. Gil, who do you have?
I'm gonna stick to the same division, but I'm gonna move elsewhere. I got Evan Mobley of the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
I think he's a generational talent. Is it just me?
He's a super rookie for sure.
He's
as a rookie, he's doing unbelievable things. Well, first and foremost, tonight on Friday, February the 4th, they play the deprived of front court players, Charlotte Hornets. So expect him, who just came off of a career high 29 points and 12 rebound game, to put up some really good value, especially in the DFS prop area. He's valued around 7,300, which in comparison to other insane bigs is kind of on the nose. I feel like that's perfect for where he's at. And let me also add that value is also according to FanDuel. I just think that, and moving ahead of that as well, is because the Cavaliers are an insanely overachieving team. And I think they're a fantastic squad to look into in terms of just fantasy as a whole. And I would buy in on any of that. So aside from Charlotte tonight, they got Indiana on Sunday. And then the following week on the 11th, they play Indiana again. And in between those two Indiana games is sandwiched a game against the San Antonio Spurs. These are great games for a player like Mobley. I think not only is he going to guarantee you a lot on the defensive end, which gives you a good amount of fantasy output, but as soon as you can get him kind of scoring roughly around his average, and plus they've been feeding him a lot. Darius Garland makes him look fantastic. So I think he's worthy of that. And special shout out to Darius Garland for making the All-Star team. I think that's a fantastic achievement for him.
Yeah, he's been great this season.
Yeah, big time. Cleveland is just overall, like, I think we may have mentioned it last week. I'm not 100% sure. Would it be crazy if LeBron just went back to Cleveland for a third time to play those guys?
I feel like he'll do, like, you know how Brady just retired and everyone's saying he'll sign a one-day with the Patriots to retire in New England?
Yeah.
I have a weird feeling LeBron's going to do something similar with Cleveland, but I don't know for sure. Willie, I would not be past the idea of him returning to the Cavs just to kind of enjoy this young squad. It'll be so inorganic. It'll be so stupid, but that's just his apropos in terms of like making moves outside of like in free agency.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and the clock's running pretty quick on LeBron in order to get that last ring. So
yeah.
So go ahead, Jack.
I was gonna say, like, the one thing I will argue there is that LeBron is trying to build something right now in LA, and whether it's not going great this season, I don't think Westbrook was the best pickup. I think that's not a hot take, but I think that I can't see him leaving there in the next couple of years because I think still feels like he has some sort of point to prove. Maybe he'll have to swallow his pride. I don't know. Yeah,
it's a good point. I thought that he wouldn't leave the Lakers, not just for basketball reasons. Like, I think he would stay there because obviously it's close to what he wants to do post-playing career with the movie studios and the Hollywood life and all that stuff. Like, and his family obviously lives in the area. It'd be hard-pressed for me to think that he would leave for anything other than basketball. But yeah, who knows? One chalk play that I want to throw out there, since Jack decided to go chalk, I'm with him there. I'm also looking at guards, but I'm looking at Trae Young. He costs almost 10 grand on DraftKings, a little under $9 on FanDuel. He just came back from missing one game on an injury, but he came back and he absolutely destroyed the Raptors. I really like Trae Young tonight because honestly, there's not really that many top-end guards on the slate today, but he came back and put up 43 points, and that translates to around, 53, 54 fantasy points, so that's absolutely nuts. The last time he played... I want to
correct you quickly, Karlos, because you did say the Raptors, but they played the Suns. You actually said
I'm over here reading this. I'm like, I don't know why I said the Raptors, because I definitely meant Phoenix. He's playing Toronto, but he absolutely destroyed the Suns. So with that said, thank you. The last time that he was in Toronto was last year. He put up 37, 6, and 5. So wow. I like similar numbers. I just think the history says that Trae Young is going to be a good play for daily fantasy lineups. So I'm good with Trae Young.
Fantasy.
I do like Danity. I think I want to say that forever now. I would coin that term, Karlos.
I accidentally said it, but you said Danity.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to just lay out for the rest of the segment. We're going to go ahead and cut that as the drop. But before I do that, Gil, you got anybody else that you want for DFS?
I'm going to butcher this guy's name. I'm so sorry. You know, Nick's not here, so I guess somebody's got to do it.
Hey, I already beat you to it.
True. Moving back to Chicago, Ayo Dosunmu. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Not too far off, but it's Ayo.
Oh, wow.
Nah, I'm joking. It's Ayo.
I'll be Ayo.
No, I was just trying to put the little New York spin on it. No, it is Ayo.
Hey, yo. Anyway.
Hey, yo.
Ayo Dosunmu has been playing great. I think the Bulls just overall as a guard rotation outside of since Lonzo Ball has been hurt has been very steady in the mix between Io and Kobe White. But in terms of just actual player value and kind of the trend that's been going on, Io has been roughly around 5.5K on both DraftKings and FanDuel. So that I feel like that's a good translation. If you've been watching the last couple of games, he's been putting up a lot of assists, which I wouldn't have expected. Obviously, he's a guard, but given the ball dominance for DeMar DeRozan at this point, you wouldn't have expected it. So let's take a look at last night. They play the Raptors. 11 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. And then he had a block in there too. And then the game before that, they play Orlando, 13 and 9 assists. And then the game before that against Portland, he had 11 assists, and then he had a little bit of a nice all-around game with 6 rebounds and complemented with 7 points. Not to mention also a handful of steals here and there. I think he's got quite a good amount of value for the price he's at because he kind of gives you a lot of everything. It's very much similar to what Lonzo Ball would be doing in the sense that Lonzo Ball gets you a lot of defensive numbers as well as rebounds. For a guard, it's a little bit more of an overachievement, like roughly around like the 5-6 area sometimes. I think Dosunmu is very, very much similar to that aspect. Obviously, he's coming off the bench, so you wouldn't expect the same amount of output, maybe just a step down. However, he's giving you that same promise, and I think that's important to look, especially when they play a team that's kind of on the mend in terms of injuries and whatnot. You can't even tell if Brogdon is ever going to play and so on. They're playing the Pacers tonight. I think that is also something that's worth very much looking at, considering the trend he's been at, especially for those last 3 games.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a homer, so you knew I was going to have that as one of my guys. We were talking before we got on about the buy and sells. You completely ruined that first pick, but we'll still throw it out there because maybe there's a reason why I like it, or maybe I'm playing mind games and I don't like it. Jack, you got anybody else for DFS?
Yeah, let's go another value pick here. Now, obviously, when we're talking about value picks, these aren't guys that... These are guys that if you want to spend up, let's say you want a DeMar DeRozan and a Trae Young, and you maybe want to get Pascal Siakam, well, then what happens is you need to pick guys who are valued a lot lower at the end of your slate. So what you're looking for then is guys who are just going to provide just steady numbers, not anything that's going to jump off the sheet. But a guy I really like, going back to Cleveland, is Cedi Osman. Now, the reason I like Osman is because he can play guard and forward. Now, he is listed as a small forward, power forward on Yahoo Fantasy. I think that's predominantly where he plays. But he had, in his first spot start the other day, he dished out 12 assists, which is a lot for someone who is listed as a forward. He shot terribly from the floor. He was like 3 of 16. But Cedi Osman's only 4,300, and they're playing at Charlotte. So obviously Colin Sexton's out, Rubio's out, and Markkanen is also out indefinitely as well. So in terms of long-term value, if you're in an actual fantasy league and you're not playing daily fantasy, he could be someone to pick up and just keep on the radar because, as I said, 12 assists the other day, about another week ago, he scored 23 points as well. So he can really provide like an output that is sustainable if you're paying up for the bigger players. I like Osman. He's one of those guys who ends up on like 4 rosters per year if you're playing like season-long fantasy, because you pick him up and then you drop him because he's not playing very well, and then someone else grabs him because he had a good game. It's just kind of like the Jay Crowder I was talking about. If people listened to the show like 3 weeks ago or something, I was kicking off because I hate Jay Crowder.
Yeah, same.
Osman is also just like that a similar kind of build to that, and I really like him.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting pick because, for DFS lineups, if you're not familiar with it, daily fantasy scoring, it depends on the kind of games that you're playing. A cash game is you want pretty much as many superstars as you can get. Cash, it's all about getting consistency throughout your roster. So you want to get safe picks. You want to get high floor, low risk kind of picks. But if you're playing tournament style DFS, then you can go into very volatile players. You can get feast or famine type players. So value plays are going to help you in tournaments because you can get players that can explode that we wouldn't necessarily count on over a season-long contest. So kind of keeping in with that theme, the last 2 picks I have, before I toss it to you guys for any other picks that you have, I like Gary Trent Jr. I like it because I was really honed in on this Raptors and Hawks game. I think Trae Young obviously is going to be the big, the star of that game. But on the other side, Gary Trent Jr., he had 30 points last night versus Chicago, 30 fantasy points. Before that, he was on a 5-game streak of scoring over 40 fantasy points. So the Raptors starters, they're playing a lot of minutes. And the Atlanta Hawks, they're not a team that guards the perimeter very well. So I like Trent Jr. to get another really high fantasy scoring output today. So he's someone I certainly would look at. At DraftKings, you can get him at 6,400, 7,100 on FanDuel. So Gary Trent Jr. is a guy that I really like for tonight going against Trae Young and the Hawks. And Terry Taylor from the Indiana Pacers against the Bulls. He's even lower at $4,200 on DraftKings. Look at the Pacers front court. They're getting wiped out with injuries and health and safety protocols, with Sabonis being out, Miles Turner's out because of a foot injury, and Isaiah Jackson looks like he's got some problems with his ankle. I don't think he's playing today. So you have Taylor, who can be playing, meaningful minutes, and he only played about 36 minutes before Sabonis landed in protocols, but in the games that he's played in, he's had 15 points. He's had 28.5 fantasy points on DraftKings specifically. And he played the Clippers. He got off for 24 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 assists. So Terry Taylor's another guy I like going against the Bulls. I think it's a good value play there because, again, I'm not going to spend all my money on superstars because then you're not going to have, quality players to round out the roster, especially if you're playing in a cash game. You want consistency. So really quickly, guys, what do you guys think about Taylor? Or what do you guys think about I'm over here, Trent Jr.? And who do you have as maybe comparable plays to those guys?
Jack, I'm gonna let you go first.
So I like Terry Taylor because this is another guy that I'm kind of talking about. We're talking about here where he might not be someone with a good long-term value, but for right now, with Brogdon out, like he's just someone you can plug in and play, especially like when we're talking about season-long fantasy when you're playing in your leagues. I like Terry Taylor. I also like Gary Trent. I just think that like what he's got going on with the Raptors is that he's got a role. And he's playing huge minutes. Like if you look at the minutes, like recently, he played 40 minutes last game, 41 the game before, 41 the game before that. Do you want to guess how many minutes he played on the 29th of January against Miami? You guys might remember the game. 56 minutes. That was when
he wasn't coming out.
Played at least 50.
Yeah, he wasn't coming out.
That was when he scored 33 points. So it's like, and then he scored 33 points. So these are the points he scored. 33, 31, 33, 32, 32. He scored 30 points, over 30 points in 5 straight games.
Can I piggyback off of that, Jack, real quick?
Yeah.
Not only has he been scoring those amount of points, he's been hitting at least 5 threes in that stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. That's just incredible. And like those are the kind of guys you're looking for. Another guy that I like, which is just worth mentioning, this is what you've got to look for. Recently, we just had Bismack Biyombo absolutely going off because DeAndre Ayton was out. And you pick him up, and especially in category leagues, you double-doubles and stuff like that, and points. Like, if you get extra points or double-doubles in points leagues, Bismack just, for 2 weeks, just was a plug-and-play, and he was great. Now, another guy I think who is worthy of that kind of same mold is Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young, Jakob Poeltl's out at the moment.
I really looked at Young, too, for the Spurs. I was right there with you.
Yeah, he's 3,500. That's like the minimum. The last game he started, he scored 7 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Okay, it's not popping out at you. It's not amazing. But if it gives you the flexibility to play an extra great player, you get to put in Harden for 10,000 instead, then it's worth putting him on the back of your roster if he is plugging and playing, which he did the last game with Poeltl out, and it looks like Poeltl's going to be out again tonight. So he could be another great just plug and play. Those are the kind of players I think that are really important for daily fantasy. You've got to do your due diligence and find who is out for that game and who might be starting in that place,
Very true, very true. Gary Trent's been on an absolute tear. And sticking into Toronto for a quick second, Precious Achiuwa has been a pretty decent backup.
Precious.
My precious. No, he's been fantastic, especially his value. He's roughly around 3.8, I believe, on DraftKings. and I think 4.2 on FanDuel. And he's been giving you roughly around the 15 to 20s in between that area in terms of fantasy output in DFS. Not only do you see that, you look at, like Jack mentioned before, in a cat league standpoint, this is great because he also gives you a lot of blocks. Actually, gives you a lot of blocks. Surprisingly enough, he gives you around like 1 or 2 a game. And then there is the double potential for him. However, again, you also need to look at how much you're spending. If you want to go high on a lot of players, right? You want to buy low on a lot of players that you think can just be very complementary. So if you want to get a guy like a Trae Young or a Luka Doncic or a Joel Embiid, you want to buy low on players like Precious Achua. I'd even go further to say Alperen Sengun on the Rockets. Like you said, the front court's depleted a bit in San Antonio, and he's giving you roughly around the same production as Precious Achua is. So I think in terms of just overall output, you get a lot from especially those front court players. You also because like nobody tends to realize the idea of how important a matchup is in terms of just like at least in fantasy basketball. I feel like I don't tread on the matchup as hard as I would say in fantasy football. Especially like how in the app how it shows that it's like red or green on Yahoo.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. No, it's like you have to do your due diligence for this one. So I think when you got a player like Sengun, who's been a decent backup to Christian Wood in Houston, and he gives you that steady backup center type idea, you want to get like maybe 9 points, 8 rebounds kind of idea from him, and that'll give you a decent output, especially on DFS. You want somebody like that to give you those kind of numbers when you want to buy low.
Also, can I just say, Cade Cunningham's out tonight. So go and look at who could be. He's just been downgraded to out. So like Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey put up 21, 13, and 8 last night. That's a huge stat line, and he's 6,000. He could be a mid-range guy. That you're looking at. These are the kind of things you have to like look at if you actually want to try and make money in DFS, and if you want to try and win the league in season long.
Yeah, that's a really good call because I know he was questionable all day. So obviously now he's out. So look at it. Breaking news on the fly with Lieutenant Data. With Jack Hopkins giving you some wins to get in getting the weekend starting right. So we're going to do a quick break because I mentioned to the guys I had to clean up some dog vomit. I think he had some
too
bats.
much information.
He had some bats. No. Listen, the audience is family, man. We bring them into our house. They're a part of our lives as much as we are a part of theirs. But we're gonna take a quick break. I'll spray some Febreze, rest my voice, get these guys ready. But we got some buy or sell on the other side, so stay tight. So it occurred to me before I went to break, I said, stay tight. I'm like, what the hell is stay tight? I
didn't want to say anything.
So I think I mixed up because I do this a lot where I think of phrases in my head or think of something I'm going to say and I pivot and I combine it. So I was going to say stay tuned or hang tight. And I'm like, nah, let's stay tight. I think that's the thing we're going to go from now on. So everybody understands why I said stay tight. I want you all to stay tuned and hang tight while we, on F-word our lives
Put on a
up.
T-shirt, Karlos.
Yeah, listen, that's branding right there, man. You can definitely hashtag and put that as a media there. So as a media saying there. So as I promised, buy or sell because we love games here at the Four Horsemen studios. We don't like taking ourselves seriously. Well, maybe Lieutenant Data does, but as collectively as a whole, we love games. So why the hell not?
I just know ahead of time I'm gonna lose, but okay.
Oh, and lose someone shall, because what is at stake is my love, friendship, and adoration. Should you please me with your answer? Then you will receive points. Should you fail me, you will lose significant points.
Good thing I already hate Karlos.
Minus 10,000 for Gil. So we're already off to a good start.
Let's go.
No, but let's go for buy or sell. So the first set of players are going to be for season-long outlooks. We're going to just throw up a kind of gimme because we already touched on it, and I didn't want to take them off my list. Chicago Bulls guard, Ayo, whatever you want to call him, Dosunmu. I am going to say what? Jac and Gil. Am I buying or selling Mr. Dusunmu?
Pitching, he's buying.
Yeah, you're buying. Flat.
Absolutely. And it's for a simple reason as this. If you have Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball out, he's playing. So he's getting significant minutes. He's a must roster player moving forward. So there's the gimme. Now let's move down the list. Point guard for the New York Knicks. Kemba Walker. Jac Gil. Are you buying or are you selling?
Sell. Big sell. I'm a Knicks fan, and I'm telling you, you got to sell that. The Knicks guard rotation is so inconsistent. And next thing you know, they're going to put Alec Burks starting at guard again. So
I know you don't like Kemba. I'm selling too.
Yeah, see, my dog agrees with you. Yes, that's why he's barking. He's saying, sell.
So he doesn't. I thought you were going to say that's why my dog vomited again.
No, in the last 5 games, he has 23 points. All right, he's in 2 of those games, he's been scoreless in 34 minutes. Kemba Walker's finished. I don't know what the Knicks are going to do there. He just outright released him. I mean, I don't know what his cap hit's going to be. I don't know the contract situation. As a professional, you think I would, but I don't. They really shot themselves in the foot in the offseason by signing him and passing up a guy like DeMar DeRozan. Because look what DeRozan's done for the Bulls. Yeah, Kemba Walker is an absolute sell. Next guy on the list, point guard for the Boston Celtics, Dennis Schroeder.
Interesting. I'm gonna say sell.
Okay, I'm gonna buy.
I'm gonna say sell. All right, Jack, I'll let you explain yourself.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing both of you.
Well, the thing is in these situations is that when we're talking about this stuff, you kind of have to do what I would do, and Schroeder has just been really good for Boston this year as a backup point guard. I really like him as a player. I've always liked Schroeder when he was on OKC. I just think he's always gone into teams and just done what is needed of him. And those players go really underrated. Like, look at the Caruso. Look what he did. And I don't think the Lakers valued him as much as, and I think as much as he should be. And I just think Schroeder is a good player. I don't know. In these situations, I think I can overthink it by thinking about what Karlos would do. So I'm just trying to think, what would I do? I think I'd buy. So.
And Gil, why are you selling him?
I've been watching Dennis Schroeder a lot, and the thing is when you saw for the value that the Celtics signed him, which is like roughly around 5 to 6 mil. They're already trying to dump him because they don't really have quite the answer they're looking for at point guard. And on top of that, his history in terms of just consistency as not the starting guard in any other team, or like his history is not being a good scoring option within at least the top 3 of scoring options on his team has not turned out well. It has not boded well at all. If you look at his time in the Lakers, he's played really well when both LeBron and Anthony Davis have been hurt, but when they're on the floor, it's pretty much been non-existent. If you look now, obviously he's not even close to the 3rd option on that team because now they have obviously bona fide scorers in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and on top of that, you got players that can put the ball in the hoop like Marcus Smart, as well as others around that team. Schroeder is a good bench player, and I say that, and I'd sell on that because I don't see most situations where he exceeds any ceiling that we've put for him.
All right, so my dog gave it away.
He threw up?
No. Well, I mean, he should have threw up when you were talking about your thinking, Jack, because I'm absolutely selling Dennis Schroeder. So much for betting on himself, right? You know, I know he's got an Achilles injury, but he's been trash. His minutes have gone down a lot, and he's only scored 34 points in his last 7 games. He has like no value right now. I don't know if I could possibly buy into Schroeder, but here's the kicker, and I kind of see where Jack's coming from. If he gets traded from the Celtics to someone else, then maybe I would consider getting Schroeder back into my lineup. But as it is right now with him on the Boston Celtics, I absolutely can't stand it. I'm dumping Schroeder. I'm selling up completely. So plus 10,000 points for Gil to bring him back up to 0, and minus 1 point for Jack.
Let's go.
Huge. Absolutely massive.
Massive win.
So right now the score is nothing for Gil and minus 1 for Jack.
Let's go.
The next player on the board, power forward from the Indiana Pacers, Isaiah Jackson. Am I buying or am I selling?
Isaiah Jackson.
Oh my god.
This is for the rest of the season, correct?
Yes.
That's a tough one. I'm gonna buy.
Okay, I'm gonna sell. I'm sorry. If you're buying this, then we can't be friends. Literally next game, he's not gonna be anything because like Brogdon be back. So, I mean, I guess what are we talking about? Is this for tonight? Is this for the rest of the season?
No, this is for the rest of the season.
Okay, sell. Easy.
And you guys are right. I would sell him for the rest of the season.
No, he
Jack
said
got it
buy.
right. I said buy, and I couldn't even explain myself. All right, yeah, whatever.
Oh, well, listen. I'll give partial credit to Gil. So, Gil, you can get only minus negative 1 point. So,
Oh, piss off.
so
Wait,
you're good.
Minus -1. Doesn't that mean I get one? Huh?
No, because you got the answer wrong. But I like Isaiah Jackson for today, honestly, or over the weekend because he scored 26 points, 10 rebounds, blocked 2 shots in his first start. So either the Pacers are just gonna get rid of everybody, or just rest their stars down the tank, and that's the only way that you would buy Jackson, for the season-long contest. But in the short term, I'm good with him. But I'm gonna sell him overall because, he hurt his ankle like almost immediately into the last game he played. Was it Wednesday? So that's just brutal. But I don't know. I don't know too much about the Pacers. I just know I don't like them for the rest of the season. So
Your reasoning as to why you'd like him is exactly why I would buy on him. Because just given the state of the organization at the moment is why I would want to keep a player.
yeah, it's just
I would just really
I think the
buy
Pacers
him
is just a
on that
dumpster
idea.
fire. So you know what? I changed my answer. So plus 2 points to Gil. So that brings him up to where were you at? Were you at -1?
I don't remember.
All right, whatever. Let's say you're at 1 point. Gil's at or Jack is at -2. Let's buy Isaiah Jackson. They'll probably trade everybody. The Pacers are a dumpster fire. So we changing answers midway through the segment. That's how we roll here. All right.
So because I'm the stat king, I'm getting punished.
Correct.
Yes, that's what you get for making us look bad. Next player, and this one is right up Jack's alley. Point guard for the New Orleans Pelicans, Jose Alvarado. Buy or sell?
Ooh. Say that name again. I like that.
Jose Alvarado. Because I am Puerto Rican. I will throw the accent on it. So are you going to buy or sell him? This one, just kind of a disclaimer. Not for season-long contest. Just for the next week or so.
I mean, I always end up resorting to going with what I don't believe in these situations. So I'm gonna buy him.
Gil?
I don't know much about the Pelicans, so I'm gonna have to sell.
And -3 to Gil. Jack gets +2. I am buying Jose Alvarado. Here's why. The last...
I'm aware of who Jose Alvarado is. I just haven't seen much of him.
He's such a good person as well. Like, if you watch his interviews.
The last 2 weeks, he's been posting top 100 numbers in NBA season contests. Even if he's limited, I like him coming off the bench. Devontae Graham has been the disappointment. And that's why I like Alvarado going forward. I'll buy him as a back-end player, as a stash player. I don't think he's going to be a significant contributor for your fantasy lineups, but he's a good guy to have on your team just in case things happen. You don't know what happens at the trade deadline, injuries. He's somebody that I do like just for a safe back-end floor type player.
He's like Caruso.
I see a lot of Alex Caruso in him. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Pelicans fan, as people know. So he is a really. I think he's going to be a really good player. He's a guy who signed on a 2-way deal and has just given his all. He's what the Pelicans wanted Kyra Lewis to be. I'm kind of worried for when Kyra Lewis does come back from his injury because, Jose Alvarado's looked outstanding.
So we got one more homer pick, but not for Jack. This one is for Gil. Buy or sell this shooting guard / small forward for the New York Knicks, Cam Reddish.
Oh God.
Is it short term or long term?
Let's say short term, but I do want to talk about long term prospects also. But for this game, short term.
I'm gonna sell, and if you agree, and if you disagree, I know you're objectively wrong.
Love
I
it.
just
Telling
I just
you.
know you're objectively wrong. The thing is, and it's not even Cam Reddish's fault. Tibbs is so inept with playing young players. I can't stand it. It's really bad. Like when he from the point that he got traded to New York to now, he's probably played about 20 minutes or so in total. That has showed me zero promises that Tibb wants to put him in the rotation. It's not necessarily have anything to do with Cam Reddish's talent. With the Knicks gave up a flippin' first round pick for him, and they don't play him. That's what gets me. That's really what gets me.
Yeah, I'm selling him too. I don't really believe in the player. I mean, the organization, I think it's better than the Hawks, but I don't know. I'm selling. You've got to go with your gut on these ones.
I'm absolutely selling Cam Reddish in the short term as well as the long term. Since he has joined the Knicks, he's played 20 minutes. He hasn't he hasn't played in 3 of the last 5 games. What the hell is Thibodeau doing? And furthermore, in the NBA, just kind of real world, wasn't the Atlanta Hawks and New York Knicks playoff series last year just the biggest hoodwink, bamboozling, fraudulent projection that you can think of in recent history when it comes to the basketball? Both the Hawks and the Knicks look like they were on the upswing in the Eastern Conference, and both teams right now are absolute garbage. The Knicks might not make the play-in tournament. Do you know what it is to miss the play-in tournament when more than half the league already makes the playoffs? The Knicks are a dumpster fire, and you gave up a first-round pick for Cam Reddish, and you can't find a way to work him into the rotation? I'm sorry. We talked about earlier that Kemba Walker is completely finished. Evan Fournier doesn't seem like he has it anymore. Julius Randle unfollowed the Knicks on Instagram. It looks like he's out. I'm going all in on the young guys at this point. You're not making the playoffs. Dude, that's a foregone conclusion. You're not making the playoffs. Show me what Obi Toppin got. Show me what Cam Reddish can do. Work him into the rotation. Emmanuel Quickley has been a disappointment as well, but I want to give him more minutes. Let's see if these guys can fight through what the hell is ailing them and become an actual team. Become something that a star would want to play with. Because right now, trying to be the you know, this playoff bound mentality with Thibodeau and a small bench, it's not working. It's not working. The Knicks are brutal. I'm selling Cam Reddish for the foreseeable future. I'm just selling the Knicks in general.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree. That was
it pains me because they were so good last year. But yeah, both teams look a little bit fraudulent right now. The Knicks are a dumpster fire. I can go on. I can provide you this whole dissertation on what's going on with the Knicks right now. But I'm not going to do that because we'd be sitting here all day and we all have things to do.
Yeah, speaking of things to do, we will wrap it up with one last name because I know Jack has got to get out of here. Buy or sell Kevin Love.
Buy. No hesitation.
The thing is that Markkanen is out. Like as I was talking about with Keddy Osman earlier, I like Kevin Love. I think that this is quite a tough one because now I start thinking about what's Karlos' opinion on Kevin Love. Like recently, Kevin Love has been playing. I mean, he's been playing well. You know, like he double-doubled the last 2 games. I'm pretty sure from what I saw. Well, I'm gonna buy it.
And oh my God, you are so right to buy it at that last second because you were about to lose the game. I don't know what the score is, but let's say I win. So I win simply because Kevin Love looked like he was going to be an afterthought, but injuries to Colin Sexton and Ricky Rubio really gave him his value back. There's no other player in the NBA that's given more rebound and support off the bench, and he's been shooting well consistently. He's averaging about little under 16 points, 7 rebounds, and he's shooting about 41%.
These are similar numbers to when the Cavs were on that 2016 run for the chip too. It's like roughly around the same.
Yeah, so I'm all in with Kevin Love right now. I'm all in with the Cavs. I think they're a really good dark horse team in the East. Do I say they make the Eastern Conference Finals? Hell no, I'm not gonna go that crazy and say all that. But I'm good with Kevin Love, and that was buy or sell, and that was another edition of the Fantasy Four Horsemen podcast. So we really appreciate it. Jac, Gil, any last words for our audience?
Stay tight.
Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube at the Four Horsemen of Fantasy. That's number 4, Horsemen of Fantasy. That's where we post our content. And I need to speak to these guys as well. I mentioned it to Gil before when Karlos wasn't off air with us yet, but I think we might do a bonus Super Bowl episode next week, considering we were a fantasy football podcast first. I just think it'd be cool to kind of preview the Super Bowl and give our thoughts on how we think it's going to go.
Yeah, I like it. Listen, you get me in a room to talk football, I'm completely with it. I got nothing else left in terms of basketball. I think I'm really looking forward to the weekend because I want to make some money on these DFS plays, which is why I forced these guys to talk about it. But everybody, have a good Pro Bowl if you're still into football, and we will catch you next week for some more Fantasy Horseman talk.
Peace.